I'm Bruce Turner. I'm the visual effects supervisor on the show. I've been on the show since the beginning of season 4. In season 4, an awful lot of what we did for effects were Andromeda in space, Maru in space, battles in space, things like that. We got into it a little bit more towards the end of season 4, where we had full CG shots that were terrestrial, not in space, which is hard to do. And by the end of last year, we were getting to the point where the team was strong enough to pull that stuff off. And we've continued to do more full CG terrestrial stuff with the Seafra planets this year. So that's been quite a good challenge. And then we've been doing a lot more plate work, like with the town of Seafra. Every time we shoot out in the Seafra backlot, we replace above the tops of the sets and extend into the distance with CG elements. So there's been a lot more integrating live action and CG, whereas in previous seasons, there was CG shots and live action shots. One of the goals is just to try and make everything a lot more tightly integrated, to make it a lot more real, so that it's not, look at me, I'm a CG shot. It's just, the shots just go by. It's just, wow, that was cool.
Yeah, Harper's lost his mind.
Was that Rami?
What's left of her?
With Lexa, with the Andromeda character, we've had to basically do head replacements because of the pregnancy. She wasn't able to wear the wardrobe, and so they found a suitable body double who we shot basically from here down, and then we shot Lexa's head and composited them together. We had an episode earlier this season with quite a long VR sequence. It was 4.5 minutes, I think. I think it was 65 shots. That is burned in my mind, the 65 shots part. It's Rami and Dylan having a two-handed conversation over a number of scenes, and that was all head replacement. And it was Kevin and Lexa filmed on green screen, and then everything else in the shot is CG.
How long do you have to work on something?
8 days.
How is that possible?
That's a good question. I often ask myself, how the heck do we do that? Last year I think our lightest show in season 4 was 74 shots or something like that, and our heaviest show in season 4 was 179 shots. There's generally a fair number of muzzle flares and things like that in the gun battle scenes, which the fans have apparently dubbed spark fights, which I love. I think that's very fitting. So in the spark fights, there's often a fairly high shot count, and so those are fairly straightforward shots, but are a high volume of them. But we often have between 20 and 40 and sometimes more full CG shots, like ships flying around in space and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a challenge to organize it all and to deliver it all to editorials so that they can get it all cut in and make sure that everything is quality control checked so that it doesn't create problems further down the line in post-production, because the post-production schedule is pretty tight, particularly with this year, because we got a little bit of a late start on the season. So it's, everybody's got to really stay focused and just, got to get through the first 9 shows.
Glamorous Seafra.
Well, one that we've been doing a fair bit this year would be the street comets on Seafra. When we're outside walking around in the town, the idea is that there's just stuff constantly falling out of the sky on Seafra, and it's just part of daily life, and people take it for granted, and so there'll just be some little chunk of asteroid, some flaming something that comes whistling out of the sky and slams into something and smokes it. And
Heads up.
in the first episode this season, where Dylan has just sort of come to the surface and is walking and seeing Seafra for the first time, and is kind of taken aback by the first street comet that he experiences, and everybody else in town is pretty nonchalant about it because for them it happens all the time. And so what we do with that is production will shoot a plate of the live action and the Seafra set, and then we'll fill in the background with a set extension and replace the sky and put in a CG comet that comes whistling in and crashes into whatever it's supposed to crash into. And Darren Marcoux and the special effects guys will have rigged up quite a nice little explosion. So they'll do the explosion and that'll appear in the live action plate, and we just match that up with our CG asteroid and time it out, and looks great.
Rami?
Stay safe.
No.
It's nice to have real things that are going on in the plate that we can marry our CG to, because the real stuff kind of lends credibility to the CG. You know, it helps to sort of ground it in the shot and make it more believable. There's lots of little things, really subtle things that, you know, your eye and your brain know. I think it's probably some hunting thing that's hardwired into our brain that we know how things are supposed to look. Even if we're not conscious of it, there's something in our brain that goes, "No, I don't buy that. That's not right." And so wherever you can, you always try and think of what those little cues would be, you know, reflected lights and shadows and things like that. And so having practical elements that will really help to sell that, usually that really helps. That makes the shots much cooler. The miracle of the PC revolution pretty much allows us to do what we do. Our compositing stations are fairly high-end, dual processor Xeon PCs. We composite using discrete combustion and Adobe After Effects. Our 3D is almost entirely done in Lightwave. We have a small amount of 3D done in 3D Studio Max. We used Max a little more last year. We hardly use it at all this year. It's 95%, 98% Lightwave. Lightwave is a really good piece of software for the kind of things that we ask for it to do. But it's all PCs for the production machines. We have an editing station with Final Cut where we get a copy of the timeline from editorial, so that we can load the entire show onto a timeline with the edit decision list, so that we can see how the show is built by the editors. And then as we do visual effects shots, we can drop them into the timeline and look at them in context and adjust them accordingly, so that it kind of helps improve our batting average with editorial, that when we deliver them things, they don't look at them and go, well, that doesn't work. You know, so it doesn't always save us from that. We still have the odd bump, but mostly that helps. And we use the Final Cut station to do input-output to digitize shots in from the digital masters tapes, and then to output it back to digital tapes so that the editors can online the show. We've got a fairly large render farm. Again, all PCs. I think we've got about 40 processors. So, it's not huge, but not bad. It gets us through, and we have quite a genius system administrator this year. So he's really squeezing every bit of performance out of the system, and big. It's for a lot of what we do. It's all about the networking, just because shots moving back and forth to the server and passing from the 3D artists to the compositors and stuff like that. So we've got a pretty big fat network, gigabit Ethernet all over the place, multiple streams, and just to try and make everything as fast as we can. But it's all pretty much off-the-shelf hardware. There's nothing fancy.
How are we on weapons?
We're there. I'm arming.
Target the mines.
What?
It's the only way.
Locking on.
Fire.
One of the litmus tests that we often apply to a shot is, will the fans think it's cool? Like, oh yeah, we should do that because the fans will totally think that's great. That's okay, then let's do it. I don't know. I hope there's lots of stuff that they like. We certainly try hard to do it. We had some big sequences in the two-parter, the climax to season 4. We had some stuff in there that I think was pretty cool, and lots of fairly long sequences where it's just CG shot after CG shot, just back, boom, boom, boom. Some really nice action and good cutting and stuff like that. So, I think that we can do cool things and extend the reach of the show.